Hi, everyone. Welcome to week 4 of digital journalism. Your intrepid instructor is traveling for Tuesday. We will be back in class. We'll be back on Thursday, but on Zoom. But I'm pre-recording this section on mobile reporting tools. Pretty good one to do because it's a lot of slides and just examples. So we don't necessarily have to be in the classroom for this one. We're in the week 4 folder. So if you have that open, that would be great. And we're mostly working with, I've got the presentation that I'm going through here, just a PDF of it, the mobile tools assignment, and then the essential mobile tools for journalists, the Google Images and the AI basics and all that stuff, the midterm paper thing, that example. It's not for this class, but it's a good AI example that we're going to use. We're going to talk about that on Thursday as AI tools, and we're going to get started. I'll implement some of them throughout the semester. Also, if you're interested, I offer an AI class, so you can take that in another semester. So make sure you have the presentation open, just the PDF of it, the tools assignment, and essential mobile apps for journalists. Again, we're in week 4 on the syllabus. It's listed right here. We're on Tuesday, so this class is pre-recorded. The video, which you'll be watching right now, will be listed right here. And then also watch this little short video on smartphone video shooting tips from the BBC. It's a nice complement to our video from last week on 10 commandments of shooting web video. But this is very short. It's Mark, who does the video, is a really funny guy, and offers some really good tips from the BBC, including putting your phone in airplane mode when you record. So call from mom doesn't interrupt your video. And then the mobile tools assignments linked right here, and then the presentation. So everything's here. I've got a little cool example here of somebody that did a video on pancake ice one time. We'll have a assignment on mobile reporting using the mobile reporting tools that I'll go over in a little bit. It's due Monday, September 22nd at noon. And then we'll have you look through this Reuters digital report and a few other little things. Just skim through them. Chapter 6 in the verification handbook's a good one to look at. And then on Thursday, we'll be on Zoom. Thursday, September 18th, we'll be on Zoom. And we'll be talking about law and ethics of AI, how do you use the tools responsibly. I'm going to show you a couple cool tools. We might talk to you a little bit about verification. We're getting into fact checking a little bit later in the semester, but I might touch on it a little bit now, just because it's so important. In your weekly schedule to week 4 folder, it reflects the same thing that we have on this syllabus. So the essential iPhone apps, or mobile apps for journalists, most of the apps I share with you on this slideshow and on these documents come in both Android and iOS iPhone versions. A few of them don't. And I mentioned, an alternative for the Android users or something like that. I always take care of my Android phone users in here. But this handout that starts with this fun graphic about the tech graveyard, so many apps have come along and been popular for a while and then died. Vine, which was kind of a precursor to TikTok, and Meerkat, which was a fun live streaming app until it got put out of business by Periscope. There've been a lot of them come and go. And I list a bunch of apps here. And I've kind of grouped them together, multimedia recording apps. Some of these are free. In fact, almost all of them are free or have free trials that you can use. If there are paid ones on here, they tend to be very low cost, like $1 or $2. So, to do your assignments, you can do them all with free apps, or, maybe you spend a couple bucks on one of them. I'm not going to assign you anything where you have to use a $50 phone app. I wouldn't do that to you guys. So, for editing video, the VN video editors are a really good one. It's a free version. It also has a $1.99 upgrade. It works just as well as LumaFusion, which costs $29. So yeah, just look through these. You don't have to download all these apps, but you might see one on here that tickles your fancy. Some of these I kind of highlighted in yellow, just so because we're covering them in the spreadsheet or in the slideshow and things like that. So again, look through them, kind of see what's available. I've got a few AI ones listed at the bottom. So that's the essential iPhone apps handout. Let's get into the slideshow now. I'm going to go through some apps here and kind of raise this up a little bit so you can see it a little better. And I'm just going to play through and talk about some different types of apps and also some data about mobile usage. Mobile phones, not just in the US, are very popular, but all around the world. In fact, even more popular in other countries because they don't have good connectivity. So, the west coast of Africa, laying down a bunch of landlines to, build Ethernet connections. They just don't have the infrastructure for it. But every other, mile or two, you see a cell phone tower. So, mobile's really kind of taken over in many of these countries, emerging and developing countries. So, let's get started on some slides. Why mobile? 5 billion people today have mobile devices. And by the end of this year, over 70% of them will be accessing the web or the internet only through smartphones, which is amazing. They're using laptops and desktops less and less, unless they're even producing news on phones, which is what we'll be doing with our assignment. Interesting little stat. Here's another one. More than 1 in 3 US people surveyed by the Reuters Institute, this was early 2025 data, use smartphones as their initial device for getting news each day. I mean, you think about it. You wake up, you roll over, you grab your phone, you look at the news alerts on your phone, kind of see what's going on. Oh my God, it's raining locally today. Oh my God, this crazy thing happened in US politics or somewhere around the world, things like that. So you're using mobile, whether we recognize it or not, as our first go-to news source. And I think this number should actually be higher even. And that number does go up 10 percentage points from just 3 years ago. And only 1% of people in the US say, use printed newspapers as their first way of getting news. More than likely, that's your grandparents. Interesting little thing to note there. Data on mobile, maybe your parents, but probably your grandparents. More data on mobile, as you see, it varies country by country. It's really interesting. Denmark and South Africa, Ireland too, relies very heavily on radio news. This is part of that Reuters study that I just cited. TV news still is very popular in Portugal and Japan. That's their go-to. Older news formats, people over 55 in the US, people my age, tend to go there. Although some of us are very mobile first and smartphone first. That number, that 39% number, which I said, earlier, I thought was kind of low. That number rises to 57% in people under 35. So your generation and those a little bit older than you, some of the younger millennials and most of Gen Z, you're using your phones first to get news, and rightfully so. I mean, it's such an easy, quick way to get news. But, as we'll talk about next week or on Thursday and next week, being able to verify that news, make sure it's accurate, is very, very important. App management, I always talk about that a little bit. It's in my textbook too, in the mobile chapter in the Journalist Toolbox textbook. A lot of us download apps we don't need and then never use them, and it just takes up space on our phone. I use a process to go out and clean my phone every 3 months and get rid of apps that I'm no longer using or never used at all. I call it pick, stick, dig, dump. You pick an app, stick with it for about 3 months and use it, dig into it, really use it, and then dump it if you don't need it. There's no use in keeping it on there, especially if it's a paid app too, unsubscribe from it and then kill the app because you just don't need it anymore. Why pay for something and let it use up space on your phone if you're not using it for anything? Apps and privacy. Anytime you go to download an app, always scroll down on the app and read the details about it. Who built the app, what company built the app, and you can vet that company a little bit by Google searching it. Also look at the privacy statistics as well down here. It talks about what data it's tracking you on. And always read through that and say, am I comfortable with it knowing where I'm at all the time, or do I have a switch where I can turn that tracking information on and off? And always just trust your gut with that. There are a lot of great tools out on the market that are tracking you and doing really crazy stuff. You could also find other tools that don't track you, and so always read the privacy regulations first. And they're required by law now to put those on their apps before you can download. It's part of being in the App Store, the Android, the Google Play Store. Very important. Remember that apps come and go. The tech graveyard I mentioned earlier. When you go to choose an app, think of tasks, not necessarily tools. What do you need it to do for you in your job? And then find an app for that. Good example, something like Shazam. You want to know, who sings this song. So you hold up Shazam and tap it. It's giving you information that otherwise you'd listen to and it'd drive you crazy trying to figure it out. You type in the lyrics, maybe a couple of the lyrics in Google and try and find it. It's not quite as easy as using Shazam, where you just click on it and pick it up. Remember, another reminder, if an app doesn't fit your needs, purge it. Scary purge people there. Fun slide. On to the apps. This is what we're here to talk about. But I always give you some stats and some things up front. The This app by TinRocket. So if you type in THIS into your app store, it'll look for this TinRocket logo, which is a little finger pointing down. TinRocket's a great company. They make a lot of phone apps that are very good, very reliable. This tool allows you to layer text and directional arrows over the top of photos on the fly. So you can have a photo, maybe snap a photo of something, and then tap on it. You can select the font, color, and then the different directional arrows. And this is a helicopter shot over Wrigley when it was under construction. Got permission from, what was it, Wrigley Aerials Twitter account. He shoots a lot of overhead shots of Wrigley. And I went in and labeled it. This is before it was called Gallagher Way. It was originally called Park at Wrigley, and pointing to the new dugouts and things like that, the Marquee, Hotel Zachary. And you can do little point and click things on here, which is really cool. The pointers can be used for a number of different things, not just an overhead shot. I've had students use them for, maybe a recipe, and they shoot an overhead of all the ingredients and then label all the ingredients. And these make for nice little tag-on photos to a Twitter post. So this might be a good tool for you to use on your mobile project that you're going to do. Here's another good one called Fonto. It allows you to layer text over photos. It has these really cool templates and fonts. They're kind of artsy. They're a little bit more geared towards social influencers and things like that, or doing a birthday one or something like that. But some of these can be really, really useful for maybe you're covering a speech and you want to put a quote in here from the speech. You have a picture of the speaker. A few years ago, I had a student when Kamala Harris came to campus, and she was our vice president at the time, and spoke. The student attended, shot some video, and she shot a photo, and then pulled one of Kamala Harris's quotes and typed it in over the photos, like underneath her standing at the podium talking. It's really good use of it. And then the Twitter post, or in our case, Blue Sky, had kind of Kamala Harris spoke at UIC on Thursday and covered these issues, and then had the quote underneath. Really good use of social media image there. And she used, I can't remember if it was Fonto or one of these other tools that I'll show you in a minute. GoDaddy Studio also, this is one of them that you can use, layers text over a photo. It's good for like kind of a single data point to share quickly. It's good for things like sports, maybe a speech quote, or you're teasing a story. Maybe when you do your final project in here, you want to tease your story, you have a great photo. You want to do a little graphic to attach to the photo. We'll get into that a little more in Social Media Week. I've had a lot of students do it from sports. They shoot a photo from the sports event, then type the final score over the image and share that as the social media image on their post. Pretty cool. Very simple tool to use. Video, I'm going to talk about a lot of different video editing tools. CapCut is a really good one. I don't have it listed here, but it's excellent. The CapCut phone app or desktop tool, CapCut CAP and CUT. But I'll talk about LumaTouch. VN Video Editor is the one that I use quite a bit. And then some other various tools as video editing tools as well. Adobe Express is formerly called Adobe Spark, but if you go in and download Adobe Express, this one runs around $5. A lot of my students already have it. If you don't and you want to do maybe a single stack graphic, an image, it also does videos where you can just import photos and create a little slideshow in the social videos. I'll show you some examples of it in a little bit. You can get it usually around $4.99 in the App Store. You don't have to. VN Video Editor is free and will do the same thing. But a lot of my students really like the Adobe Express tool. I've got a lot of good feedback on it over the last 10 years. And Adobe, makes Photoshop, Adobe Premiere, and they're in the app market. They do some really cool AI apps and some other tools like this. So Adobe Express might be something you want to consider. It's kind of an all-in-one tool I call them Swiss Army knife tools. It's one tool that'll do many different things. How do you hold your phone too when you're shooting? Little reminder. I think we talked about this last week during the 10 commandments of shooting web video. If you're shooting it for TV, remember to hold your phone sideways, vertically if you're shooting it for social media. But if it's YouTube or TV, you hold it horizontal, vertical if you're doing it for social media. So for a lot of the assignments we're doing on projects we're doing on this assignment, you can hold it vertically because you're shooting social video. In fact, most of the semester, I think the only time we'd hold it horizontally is maybe with the final project if you were doing a YouTube video. So keep that in mind, vertical video versus horizontal video. VN Video Editor, great tool. It's very intuitive. It has a paid model, I think it's $1.99, but the free version really has everything you need. It's both available on iOS and Android. You can add video, photos, text layers, free music, transitions. It's watermark free and has keyframe animation. So you can go in here and add in transitions where these little plus signs here that I'm hovering over. And you can see the various layers here. You can add in music. It's got rights-free music built into it. Some of them are kind of campy music, but some of them are really good too. You can click on the text button and type in, if you want a little text overlay, maybe a person's name or a location. And on class on Thursday, I might show you guys some examples I've done with these. I did a progress of a building going up and did it in VN Video Editor. So I've done one too on the Cubs when they added on the sports book on the side of the building. Got one in there too. So you can layer all these things in by just hitting the little plus signs to the left. Really easy tool, very intuitive to use. CapCut's very similar. Beastcam Pro and Video to Photo. Beastcam runs about $5. You don't need it necessarily for this class, but it is kind of cool. It's really one of the best video camera apps on the market. If you want to do really high-end video where you can adjust the exposure and the settings on it, Filmic is another good one as well. A little more expensive. It's in the $20 range, but Beastcam's a lot cheaper. You don't need it for this class. Your basic phone camera is fine for this course. If you're doing a lot of HD thumbnails and want to capture screen grabs right out of your video, instead of just doing it as a screen grab on your video, run it through Video to Photo, which runs about $3. Again, for this class, you probably don't need it, but if you are doing a lot of thumbnails out of video, you can load a video right in there and it'll do a screen grab of one frame and gives it to you in high definition, and they're beautiful. I've used them before on some exercise. In fact, I've used them for our book, Journalist Toolbox book, and it has some really nice screen capture imaging, better than what's on your phone. I just offer those up if you ever want to use them. VideoScribe's a whiteboard desktop tool. You can see it runs for about $140. I used to have a login to it, but I discontinued it. Their iPhone app was phased out. But if you want to use it, you can do a 2-week free trial and create little whiteboard videos, kind of like the ones you watched on our principles page. In the first week, we did those with little whiteboard videos. They're like little marker board images that come out, and you can use it to explain something. Probably not something you'd want to use for your mobile assignment, but I do mention it here because we're talking about video. Vidometer is kind of a cool tool. It's an app that allows you to map yourself and layer the map over the video, shows your location. It can also track speed and elevation. I have a friend that teaches skydiving, and she attaches a GoPro camera to her helmet, and she turns this app on, and as you can see here with the motorcycle, it's tracking speed and elevation and things like that as the motorcycle's moving, but it also does it if you're dropping out of an airplane. It shows how fast you're going and what your elevation is, shows it dropping and things like that. It also do it if you're moving as well. In this case, this motorcycle's moving at a very fast rate of speed. It's reflected in this little layer here. I've done it for mapping. I went around and wanted to show my locations. It's good for verification. And then you can export the video and move it to YouTube or post on social, no matter whether you're shooting it, vertically or horizontally. It's good to sync it up with a GoPro camera. Again, for this assignment, I've had some students play with it before and experiment with it. A lot of this assignment is experimentation and learning how to use an app and think about, oh, how can I tell this story in a visual way? It's good practice at that because we're going to do that several times throughout the semester. Shooting 360. There are some good 360 apps for your phone. One I really like is Bubbly, Bubbli. It's for iOS only. For the other tool for the Google Play Store, I believe it's Bubble BUBL. It might still be in there. Google Street View is another good one. Fuse is a really cool one that allows you to shoot in instead of out with a 360. And I'll show you some examples of these in a minute. But Bubbly lets you move your phone up and down. It gives you a percentage of the area you covered. You just basically stay in one spot and pivot and shoot all around you. One word of warning about shooting 360. If you're going to shoot a 360, you need to be in a stable environment. You can't have people running through it or cars whizzing by because it'll cut them off as you're filming. So it needs to be a stable environment. Like this, somebody's in the big canyon here and they're shooting 360 around it. I met a reporter I did trainings with on this years ago in Northern California, and he climbed up on the side of a mountain after some wildfires he'd gone through and just devastated. And everything around him, front and back, was, he shot pictures too, but the 360 was much more better at telling the story of just how devastating this wildfire was because it was scorched earth every direction you looked. Always remember that use 360 if anything behind your peripheral vision, hold your fingers out and look at your peripheral vision. If there's anything interesting behind you, shoot 360 with Bubbly, Google Street View, or Fuse. If not, if there's nothing interesting behind you and it's only in front of you, just use the panorama setting on your phone app, on your camera phone, and just shoot a panorama. So a lot of times I've had reporters, students as well, go up on like Cindy's rooftop and they want to do a 360 around the bean. Well, the bean shot is really great in front of them, but behind them, it's just a restaurant and a brick wall. There's nothing interesting there. So, do use 360 only in a situation that's very stable and you can shoot all around you. And it's iOS only. And like I say, Bubble, I think will still get it. You still have that available for your Google Play Store for your Androids. So Bubbly, cool little app. Google Street View, you hold your camera vertically and you shoot it paints little red dot or orange dots on your screen and you shoot each picture of each one. It stitches together all of the images and you can see them and it sends you an email when it's done. Same way with Bubbly. Bubbly emails you when it's done processing. It'll tell you when it's complete. You hit a send button and off it goes to your email, whatever you logged in to Bubbly with and set up the account. It's free. Fuse is another really cool one. You can shoot 360s around stationary objects. You can do 180s too. I've had students use this at the Chicago Auto Show, where they walk around a car and shoot a 360 around it, shooting in. And you can sit there and trace with your finger then once it's published, and you can walk all around the car. Or they go to an art gallery and there's a cool statue there and they do the 360 around the art gallery looking in at it. And again, I'll show you some examples of Fuse in a little bit. Really, just really cool stuff you can do with this. So with video, with slides, all kinds of fascinating stuff. That's it for the apps. Let's look at some examples here. This is one that a student did a few years ago. The Pilsen Art House was hosting a pop-up with a bunch of vendors. So she built this in VN Video Editor, the free app, and she just added this little text over each of the videos. She just pieced together the little video things and imported. Notice she kept the video very stable. And what moved were the slides, the transitions between the slides. She just had them slide through. And then put in, the different names of the shop owners. Very visual. It's very beautiful. She did a very steady kind of pan here, little 180 almost. 360 didn't work in here really. She tried it. and it just didn't work. But beautifully done. It's a pop-up shop. She did a nice little short video on it. It only runs about 45 seconds. These videos don't need to be very long. This is one a student did. He did this in Adobe Express. The Queen of England, her 1957 Rolls Royce, was making a pass through the suburbs, and your stories can be Chicago, or you can do the suburbs too. And it has to have some news value to it. This is kind of a cool, quirky thing. So he layered in a little music behind it. Radford Exchange brought it in, shot a bunch of different angles of it, had some information. He did some research on it. It's used in Rhodesia in 1957. It's kind of cool. But he shot a lot of different angles, tight, had people in it. Several people were in these images. Nick Williams did this project, did a real nice job with it. Very simple. And then he shared this over social media, over Blue Sky. Kat Leone covered this speech by Kamala Harris. And she did the little text card where she had the quote from Kamala. She also did a little slideshow on it. Had some video in there. She couldn't get too close. Did some vertical video, kind of just panned across the number of students there. Common, the rapper, was there as well, Mayor Lightfoot and Pritzker. So this was a few years ago. But notice she got a lot of detail in the post. That's something very important with these. And then put the UIC Digital hashtag at the end. Description, hashtag, and link, how you want to go with it. Or actually, a description, link, and then hashtag. So this was a little bit out of order, but it looked good. It played good in social media. This is Fuse. This is the 360 looking in. Alex Fashandi did this one. This is a new display that came to the Museum of Modern Art here in Chicago, the Chicago Modern Art Museum. So he did this little 360, and it was, and they wrote in the Twitter post, he did it on Twitter back in the day. This was the watershed geological column. So it's basically a bunch of plates with dirt in it. But, he wrote a little more detail about it in the tweet than he could here. This is from a few years ago, about 5 years ago. This is another one. It had a good news peg to it. The Field Museum was changing its Tuesday hours. They had different hours, and you could get in free. I think that still exists. He went to the Field Museum and did a 180 of Sue the T-Rex, rawr, scary. And you can just spin around. And it's kind of cool to do that when you're scrolling through social media, and you can just click on this and do the 180. It's kind of cool. You got some likes out of it. Some people liked it and interacted with it. So it's kind of cool. But he had a news pack to it, which is very important. This is one from Mexican Independence Day. Manny Moraz did this one. And it was over the weekend, right around September 16th of that year. So he went out and, he had a little trouble with shaky cam here, obviously the big crowds and stuff. There's this dude up on a street light or a street signal. And then he just layered the text in over it. I think he did VN Video Editor for this. It might say at the end what tool he used. He had a lot of information about it. And a couple of students did this project that semester. One had an overhead shot out of a condo that looked really cool. So he looped it. It's only about 30 seconds, but it did a pretty good job with it. I had some detail up here about it as well. And I've got some other examples on here as well that you can look at from your your assignment sheet. So I'll call that up now, your mobile tools assignment sheet. It has a list of the tools we covered in class, the Prezi. It has the essential phone apps list that we looked at. And then the video that you're watching now will be listed right here underneath it. And this is just all of the background about, the project that I've talked about and what to do, the hashtag and all that. You don't need to put these projects into a Medium post, just post them back to back. You'll do 2 posts. You can be from the same story using 2 different apps. Don't use the same photos, but use different photos and different video clips in each one. I've got a lot of examples here for you to look at. Some of them I showed to you just now, but there's a bunch of others. This is one from the Steak and Shake when it opened near campus over in University Village from a few years ago. There's the T-Rex, DIY music, a bunch of other really cool ones in here. So you can look at those examples and take a look. How will your project be evaluated? Is it journalism? Does it, tell a story? Spelling, grammar mistakes, in the text, that's a very important thing, following AP style. Do you share it properly on Blue Sky so there's context and I know what it's about? Answer the basic questions: who, what, when, where, why, how, and how much. Those are the basic questions journalists answer. And you should be answering that either in your video or in your Blue Sky post. So that's how we're going to evaluate it. So you're going to do 2 posts. Do them back to back. Don't do one day and one, 3 or 4 days later. Do them back to back. Don't wait till the last minute to do this. I've had some students wake up on Monday morning and go, "Oh, okay, I'll just do this real quick." And they do a time lapse video or something of, the busy traffic on the freeway. Well, traffic's always busy on the Eisenhower. It's not really, think through it. If you're having trouble coming up with an idea, drop me a note. Or if you're unsure if your idea is going to work, send it to me. I can help you think through it. Part of this assignment is starting to think visually, which we're going to do a lot of this semester, and using your mobile phone for reporting, which we're going to do a lot of this semester, so including your final projects. So this is really the first field assignment you're getting, where you're going out and shooting and framing images and framing video based on what we learned last week, and then using some of these apps to tell a story. If you have another app you'd like to try, run it by me first, outside of what I've listed here. I've given you a pretty good list to start with, but there are many more on that essential iPhone apps list. So do run it by me first. And if you have questions, drop me a note. I'm traveling, but I can usually jump on email pretty quick from the airport, or in between my training sessions and stuff. So I do have some flexibility. And then we'll meet again, on Thursday in person. And if you have more questions about the mobile assignment, we'll start on those at the start of class, and then get into some of the AI tools, which are kind of fun. So hope you have a good week. Again, get started in this. The earlier you get started on it, the better. Especially if you're not, you don't have a lot of experience shooting with your iPhone or your mobile device. This is something I would encourage you to get started on early, at least thinking of the idea and going out and getting it shot. I would have it shot no later than Sunday afternoon. Gives you Sunday night, Monday morning to do the production work on it and get it posted. All right. We'll see y'all. Take care.